Famed entrepreneur and angel investor Jason Calacanis said that if you're into crypto, it's time to pivot to AI. Of course, we're not all just trying to follow the bandwagon, but part of me is pretty sure that he's just trolling when he says that stuff. It's funny seeing that tweet, because probably 10 years ago I pitched a company to him and it didn't go well. It wasn't a great idea. He did the right thing by passing on us, but I haven't thought about him for years. Anyhow, this week we're talking all things crypto, blockchain, and where that intersects with artificial intelligence. But look, the way I see it, blockchain, artificial intelligence, they're very different. And artificial intelligence is something you apply to many different verticals. And crypto, although it's money, and money is a huge thing, and money is kind of everywhere, it's not above all the industries in the same way that AI can actually revolutionize. It's an invention that can invent on top of itself. But here's an interesting thought that's been kicking around in my brain for years. I first heard about this idea from Ben Goertzel, and it's the idea that what if we could get to a hypothetical future where there's a super AGI, super intelligence, but its actual code base, like its GitHub account, wasn't something that anybody could contribute to. It had more of a Wikipedia model, and to contribute, you had to prove who you were by the history of what you've done before, and that would all be a blockchain system. But I know that sounds really complicated, but the interesting thing about that is that it uses cryptography to prove that you are the person who actually cares about this, so you can make an update, whereas somebody who has more nefarious or selfish goals wouldn't be able to do that without proving that they did good things for many, many years before that. Okay, but first back to this Jason Calacanis comment and how it just kind of erupted a certain tension that people have with tech bros and try to jump on every bandwagon. But I felt like this one piece written by Peter McKay about the false dichotomy between artificial intelligence and crypto kind of summed up how I felt. So it addresses how Jason Calacanis said that if you're in crypto, time to pivot to AI by just disagreeing with the fact that you can only do one. It's like saying if you're in real estate, pivot to AI. No, figure out ways that you can use artificial intelligence to make real estate more efficient. If you're a crypto guy, try to incorporate AI because it's a game changer. So in the article, McKay cites this guy named Boris Primo. He's part of Polygon, another big crypto project, and he was giving a speech during a Web3 conference. And he highlighted the difference between the two technologies and the synergies that they have. People talk about crypto and blockchain being a ledger. It's fundamentally a database, but AI is logic. They fit together really well. The big takeaway for me was that blockchain can provide privacy, authenticity, ownership. None of that gets in the way of artificial intelligence. It's not mutually exclusive in any aspect. In fact, it's super helpful because large language models pumping out all this garbage and we can't tell what's human and what's not. Blockchain could really help us with that. So anyways, I'm a big fan, both AI and crypto. I say do both. Sergey Nazarov is one of the co-founders of a big crypto project called Chainlink. Founder of Chainlink, which is built around blockchain oracles, is somebody you should know about if you're into artificial intelligence. Because the concept of an oracle is how do you get something so reliable and trustworthy like a smart contract connected to real-world data where there's errors, people might manipulate it, and it's just not trustworthy. One example that always stuck with me was temperature. Instead of just saying what's the temperature, you take it from a whole bunch of different points, you average it together, and you actually explain in smart contracts how it is that you came to that number, like how many you measured, what elevation they were at, where they were located, were they in the sun or the shade, so that you have some understanding of what caused it. And the bigger and more robust and built out these kind of oracles get, the better we can rely on that data. The data can maybe train artificial intelligence, it can come out of artificial intelligence. There's a lot of ways to connect these tools. But I just like how Sergey was like, stop the conversation about prevention and let's think about protection. And he talks about how something like Bitcoin and Ethereum that has a much more robust developer network, much longer history, it's much more well adopted, that's harder to manipulate than the smaller cryptocurrencies. So it would really be good for us to build up similar well-adopted blockchain, projects that maybe could be like insurance and automotive and identity so that we could have that same kind of trust in the future. Okay, so now I just wanted to throw in an opinion of mine. I was reading an article that was all about the death of ownership and how we're moving to a world where everything's just rented. And I can see that business model. I remember when Adobe was like, you're not gonna own Photoshop, you're gonna rent it from us each month. And that has just been an example that I've seen replicated over and over and over again. Makes a lot more money, it's a recurring sense of income, people forget about their credit cards, and these businesses love the fact that they can collect that extra money. But if you think about this hypothetical future where somebody's renting pretty much everything, their house, their car, their laptop, all that stuff, and they have their money in something like Silicon Valley Bank, and they're not sure if they're always gonna have access to it, it just makes your whole life like very ungrounded and like sort of frightening. But the fact that Bitcoin and some of the cryptocurrencies and the blockchain money can actually feel more like cash, like you have real ownership, that would probably make that kind of rental economy more more stable, more comfortable in my opinion. Whereas before you might be like, okay, banks might shut down or something bad might happen, but like I own my house, I own my car. Even though it's not optimal, at least it's like value that I have control over. So that's it. I just wanted to point out that dichotomy. Better and more fulfilling if somebody has ownership over their money and they rent all these things versus having ownership over their things and then having a kind of uncertainty if they have access to their money all the time. And that money uncertainty could be anything from like a bank shutting down to just simply inflation deflating away all your money, or maybe somebody gets your identity on the internet and starts spending money from your credit cards and everything gets shut down because of that. Maybe as I get older, I'm like, that's what those gold bugs were always trying to tell me when I was younger. It's like they have ownership, like they feel it, they see the value in the thing that's in their hand. Smash that subscribe button. Now let's hop over to China. There is a Chinese company called ByteDance, and they have made a purchase over $1 billion of GPUs. That means they're building some kind of supercomputer, the kind of supercomputer that could train like a GPT-5 or 6, like a mega model. I mean, that's great if you're an Nvidia investor, but that means a lot of power is moving east. Now keep in mind, ByteDance is the owner of TikTok. So I definitely see a future where there aren't humans on TikTok anymore. Everything will be AI generated. It will learn exactly what the best dances are, the prettiest faces are, the cutest cats are. It will generate all of that on the fly to your particular needs to get you super addicted, like addicted to a level you have never seen before. That's not just the Chinese companies. I think that's probably gonna happen to most of the social networks in the long run. All right, now I'm gonna tell you about a really underdog project. I kind of think this won't get off the ground, but it's interesting enough that like I hope it does, and I just wanted to share it with you. So it's an AI agent based on an open source fine-tuned model, and it's called the Spirit of Satoshi. Now this is an AI that should have a personality that has the same core values as what we all think Satoshi Nakamoto would have had. Now, the reason, like personally, I wanted to share this is because I've always liked the idea of an entity not being an actual person who's fallible, but something that's more of an essence, like a vibe that we can all kind of come to consensus about. And then I got that from like the Batman movies, you know, like the bat symbol is better than Bruce Wayne. And in the same way, if we have an artificial intelligent model and its goal is to always do what it thinks Satoshi Nakamoto would have done, and to learn what Satoshi Nakamoto would have done, it has to basically read what everybody thinks about him and what consensus we all have about what kind of person he might have been. So if you want to join me, you can be the 148th follower. I don't know a ton about who's behind this project or what it's going to do, but I just wanted to share the concept. Maybe someone else will come along and do it, and at least someone's trying. I just watched a video that was uploaded by Fireship, really like that channel, and it's called Worldcoin is the S coin, the S word, for humanity. I needed your feedback from this comment. You know it's bad if you can't tell if a video is satire of the future or legitimately gonna happen. Because that's exactly how I feel about Worldcoin. I think we need our identity, and he points this out in the video, like looking into the orb to get your iris scanned is not that much different than like just holding your iPhone up so you can log in. I mean, it feels weird and they're incentivizing people to take these orbs around, and there's some iris data that's getting used just so people can get extra cash. That's super bad, but then also, how are we going to verify our identity in the future? And Sam Altman is somebody I think I like so far. I don't know. I haven't got a total read on him yet, but I honestly think this video, if you think it's satire, it will play off as satire. And if you literally think it's the future, you'll be like, this guy's just reporting the news. Glad people know about it. Look at the replies so far. I can confirm this is real dystopian. Satire is just the truth cloaked in comedy. And I even think he just raised a bunch of money. Let me check that. I mean, look, Crunchbase says they've raised $125 million. That's in the crypto sphere. That's one of the top projects. I actually don't think AI is overhyped because it's gonna be such a big deal, but I understand people do. So let's look at some people who think that. So Cory Doctorow wrote this article. The AI hype bubble is the new crypto bubble. We're gonna look back on this and feel really silly someday. He argues that companies like Morgan Stanley, who previously like hyped up crypto a lot, are now just hyping up AI. He thinks they both have serious limitations that people aren't considering. He points out, and in some ways he's right, that ChatGPT and these large language models are just advanced autocomplete. They have tokens in a latent space. They make a prediction. It doesn't seem like they're world modeling, but I've done a bunch of videos on the psychology behind that. I still wonder if that's good enough for us. Like good enough for us in the sense that it could be like a world changing technology and make it so that we can interact with everything in natural language and feel maybe like another human, or like even if it doesn't have a world model, like who cares? Like you can talk to your refrigerator, it can emote to you, it can make you feel better when you're down. That's still super game changing. And maybe the world model just builds itself when you get to a certain scale. We don't really know for sure. Now, he does bring up some economic concerns that I do think would hold AI back. Could be a big problem for society. That's going to be replacing workers, which might have a deflationary effect. Identity, like actors being upset that they can just reuse their images in generative art all the time, and like they don't have any recourse and they don't have a way to profit from any of that. But I have to acknowledge, as a YouTuber, all you're going to hear is like hype up AI, hype up crypto. I mean, that's just what YouTube's about. So definitely form your opinion by looking at some sources that outside of YouTube and me. Smash that subscribe button. So interesting business news, you know, FTX, the Sam Bankman-Fried, like super fraudster. Well, when he was printing unlimited money and buying everything, it turns out he put $500 million into Anthropic AI. If you don't know of Anthropic, they're right up there with DeepMind and OpenAI. They were actually 12 people who were at OpenAI for the earlier GPT versions. They left. They have a model called Claude, which is super competent and capable. In fact, I use it all the time because it has a 100K context window, meaning I can drag like big 50-page research papers in there and have it summarized. And they're playing with big money and they're training big models and they have great expertise. But with FTX filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, they're liquidating the assets. So interestingly, this is some stock that maybe Nvidia, Google, Microsoft, they might pick up, or maybe some private equity firm, because right now FTX is on the hook for $8.7 billion. So they have to liquidate their assets to start paying back all these people. But when they went to liquidate it, it got halted, and there's an unknown reason. I'm not really sure what's going on, but it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, and when that gets unhalted, who picks it up. A new research paper came out, awesome title. Do you even crypto, bro? Is what it's called. Seriously, that's the research paper. And it's a study that was meant to find out who's actually holding crypto, like what age are they, what are the demographics, that kind of stuff. So no surprise, it's mostly men, people with a bit more income than average, and people who tend to identify as being libertarian or politically independent. They're also less likely to be white, and they trend younger. Now, for most people, they only hold a significantly small fraction in cryptocurrency, but for about 20% of all the people who do hold crypto in this study, they hold 50% of their entire net worth in it. 31% of people said that they consider it when they're making financial decisions, and about 50% of people said they just lack knowledge. They don't know much about cryptocurrency. They don't even understand the sector one iota. China has now officially launched the National Blockchain Technology Innovation Center in Beijing. Now, this center is planning to train 500,000 blockchain experts. It's a collaboration with universities, think tanks, all sorts of different enterprises, and it's a great move, I think, for China. You know, and I don't want countries like China to just beat us. Like, we can print as much money as they can. Like, why don't we do this? And of course, this is all coinciding with the new digital bank currency that they rolled out, the digital yuan. It gives them unprecedented control to start and stop wallets, build smart contracts that can manipulate the kind of environment. And I would actually say in a lot of good ways, you can use that to incentivize people to spend in certain ways, but you can also use it for nefarious stuff and lock people up. And that's going to be something China has control of. Like, we're not going to have a say in that. For more rants, smash that subscribe button.